This might be my least favorite book that I've read in 2024. You're telling me that's a love interest? Really? Why are you a 500-page book and there's still no plot? Just toxic. It felt like the stuff that I wanted to see and the stuff that was good for like driving the plot forward was kind of thrown in the background and was replaced with all of these really, really horrible, toxic bullying romance scenes that were literally like every second page. I think the way that I understand this book, and I'm honestly a little bit confused because like the back cover, it just sounds like it's like a quote from the book, and I don't know why books do that because I'm like, how do I know what this book is about? But the way that I understand this book is it's about two twins who are Geminis, and they're in this school and they have to like, I don't know, prove that they know how to use magic so they can kind of like secure the throne. And so I think it's also kind of like a fight for a throne. And so there's like this mysterious hot guy who's definitely not the love interest at all. And he is there at the school as well. And they're all just kind of like in conflict with each other, kind of like sabotaging each other, getting into fights, all of this stuff because they all want this throne. And so I know that there's fae, I know that there's vampires and werewolves and all these cool magical creatures in one kind of book in like a dark academia setting. So I mean, that's pretty much all I need to know about this book. So yeah, I'm kind of expecting like that cool kind of dark setting. I'm expecting it to be very spicy, as I've heard, and very like magic-y, fantasy focused. And yeah, I mean, as a Gemini, the character's me, right? Is that how it works? I don't know. But without further ado, let's read the first book in Zodiac Academy. So I'm now a little bit more than 100 pages into the first Zodiac Academy book, and here are my thoughts so far. I don't know what I think about this book yet. The humor is a little bit crass, and I don't really know what to expect yet. There are parts that I definitely enjoy though, like once they're actually in the school, because the stakes are really high. It's literally like the professors don't care if you kill other students and stuff. And there's all this cool magic stuff and all the references to Zodiac and how it's like a mirror of the modern world, but with magic, which I think is interesting. So I don't really know exactly what I think yet. I don't really have any favorite characters or anything. I think it is still just like kind of building up to what the story is going to be. So there's a lot of world building, which I really appreciate, but world building sometimes takes a little bit for me to like get into a story, but I'm sure when I update you, like when I'm like halfway through, I'll have a better idea of like what the book is about and what I think about it. But right now as a whole, it's just okay. So this book basically follows along our two main characters. It's done first person point of view for our two twin main characters, and there's Darcy and there's Tori. And so they grew up as orphans, they were in the system together, and then once they turned 18, their foster parents pretty much like kicked them out and was like, good luck. And so they don't have a lot of money, and so they're kind of Tori, Darcy, I mix them up a lot. Tori is more kind of like rebellious and all of that, so she would actually steal motorcycles for a living. And then her sister Darcy is a little less like that, but the story does start with her breaking into a house and stealing back the money that she and her sister saved and then running from the cops. So they're both kind of like doing what they can to have money so they can survive. And so this like mysterious professor guy shows up, and he basically is like, yeah, you know, you're actually, you can enroll in this school and you'll get money and free room, free board, all that stuff. And they're like, no thanks. And then he's like, you're gonna do it. And they're like, oh. Takes them, and he basically has like the power to like control people, and so he basically like forces them to go to the school. And then they get into the school and they discover that they have all these powers and stuff, and everybody is kind of this like initiation kind of ceremony where they discover their powers, and then they go into their kind of like houses, and these are like done from like the elements. So there's like fire, earth, water, air, and so because they're twins, they're not actually allowed to be together because they're really powerful, like the most powerful that anybody's seen at this academy ever. And they're also like the heir to the throne, which their parents, when they passed away, these other people kind of like took over. And so now that these kids they've been found and they're alive, they technically have the right to the throne. So everybody's like, and there's like fights and stuff going on. So our characters get separated. Darcy goes into the heir house and Tori goes into the firehouse. And so it's interesting to be able to get both of their perspectives as they're going through like the hazing and all of that. And they have just a bunch of enemies because of who they are, and they don't know anything because they were brought up thinking that they were mortal, and so there's a lot of stuff that they do not know. And so yeah, they're a pretty big target for everybody. And I just got to the part where they're going to their first class, and so we'll see what that entails. I'm curious about what the rest of the story is going to be like. What kind of adventures are they going to get into? What other characters are we going to meet? Because there seems like there's a lot of characters because it is like this school setting, but it's definitely more interested now that they're in the school versus when they were just kind of like before the school, so like before the inciting incident. And so yeah, I think that is interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. I do not know exactly where I stand yet. So I'm going to continue to read Zodiac Academy The Awakening, and I will update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm definitely way more than halfway through Zodiac Academy, and not because I'm enjoying it. I'm like more than halfway because I'm hoping it's gonna get better, but it's not getting better. If I didn't have less than 100 pages left, I would DNF this book. That's how I feel about this book. I keep on finding myself doing other things like, oh, I don't want to read this book. But then I'm like, okay, I gotta read this book. So I sit down and I just like read a bunch of it. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm not enjoying it. This entire book, there's pretty much no plot. This book though, like the biggest issue that I have with this book is that it's literally every second page, one of the twins, either Darcy or Tori, is literally being assaulted or touched inappropriately, being forced to say things she doesn't want to say, being fed on by vampires, and like there's no consent at all. Like the whole book, there's no consent. It's just these girls going into this school and all of these guys doing these really disgusting things. I'm like, what am I reading? And it's like justified because they're hot? That's not right. The book is not sitting well with me at all. I get that there's definitely an audience for this kind of thing, where you have like the bullies and they're hot and they're like constantly touching these girls without them wanting to, but then the girls eventually are kind of like into it because the guys are hot. But it's like, it's not for me. It might be for other people, but it's really not for me. I'm not into that kind of vibe at all. And the guys are just so horrible. One guy literally like burned her clothes away and took a bunch of pictures and spread them around the school. Like, you're telling me that's a love interest? Really? Ugh. And the way that this book was kind of like, people talked about it is like a spicy Harry Potter. But the thing with Harry Potter is that it's an escapism book. You would not want to escapism into this school. This school is horrible. It's literally just constantly being bullied and touched by these guys all the time. Or like, like this whole book, it just makes me so mad. And I'm like reading it and I'm like, okay, maybe something's gonna happen. But no, it's literally just pages and pages and pages and pages of these girls just having the worst time ever. And this is only a week in the book. How is this a week? Like I am having a bad time. I'm having a bad time. And you're probably wondering like, Leanna, why don't you just like DNF it? You're not enjoying it. I have wasted so much time already reading this book. I wasted 3 days reading this book. I'm gonna finish it just out of spite. And that way I can also count it as like books that I've read, because DNF books, they don't count as books that I've read because I didn't finish them. Yeah, I'm just torturing myself. And okay, there's another thing that I have a problem with, and it's this character named Diego. And there's nothing like, I don't have anything against his character, but he feels like a caricature of like a person who's born in Mexico. He's constantly like dropping these like random slang terms that just doesn't feel natural. It feels super forced, and it kind of feels like the book is making fun of people from Mexico. And did I mention that nothing has happened in this book? Nothing! There's like hints of a plot, but there's just little hints of a plot. And it's like, okay, why are you a 500-page book and there's still no plot? Like, make it make sense, please. I'm like so rude right now because I'm just so mad about this book because I hate how these women are being taken advantage of, and they start to accept the abuse. And I'm just like, this is a book written by women. I don't understand. I'm having such a bad time. But the sake of for my own self-imposed rules, and because I'm making a video about it, I feel like it is only fair that I do finish this book, and then I never have to worry about it again. This TikTok, you've really messed up this time. You've really messed up. You've messed me up. I'm not enjoying this at all. But yeah, I'm gonna continue to read Zodiac Academy #1, and I'll update you when I finish the book. Yeah. See you. So I have finally finished Zodiac Academy #1, and just when I thought this book wouldn't annoy me more, it managed to annoy me more. This is more than like a bully romance. This is like just toxic, and there's no romance. I would say that this is not classified as a romance. It's literally just these poor girls being tortured this entire book, and it's really hard to read. And yeah, it's not for me. Maybe like if you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably enjoy it. Like I know that there's definitely like, that's a very like kind of niche thing that if you're kind of into that type of story, then I think you will like it. But for me, it was not. I found the writing was very Wattpad-like as well. And there were a lot of, there was like no commas. I don't know if you noticed that. There was like no commas in this book. And there was like words that were spelt wrong often, and I was like, huh, kind of weird. And I didn't find the humor to resonate. Like the humor didn't resonate with me. It was too crass, and at times it was just really cringy. And I hate not enjoying a book, and I hate really not liking a book. Like this is probably one of my least favorite books that I've read this year. And it makes me feel bad because as somebody who has written a book and is currently well, technically I wrote 2 books, and I'm working on getting it queried, I know how much love and effort goes into a book, and it is like a piece of your soul. So I always feel bad when I don't like a book and I don't have like many positive things to say about it, because I know that to someone, well, at least these were 2 authors, that to these authors, this book is like they love it and it's their passion. So yeah, it just always makes me feel guilty. I think that the thing that I did like about this book, I did like our main characters, so that made it a bit more bearable. I think that Darcy and Tori were really good, just like sister love interactions that they had with each other. I thought their relationship was really healthy, and I liked that they were different in personality and just the way that they were. So I think that those characters were good. I think if it wasn't even from their point of view and it was someone else's, I don't think I could have finished the book. But because I actually did like those characters, I think that's what helped me finish the book. But the love interest, are you kidding me? Like, don't date toxic men, don't do it. I guess like overall, I'm just really disappointed because it had such a great idea, like having the zodiac signs and this cool like magical school with all these different creatures and stuff, but it didn't do it for me. Again, this is my opinion. If you think that sounds like the type of book for you, just keep in mind like the lack of consent stuff, which I know, again, that's a niche thing. So if that's something that you like, you'll probably like this series. But for me, the writing was not the best. There were only 2 likable characters, and the story was just very, very hard to read. Like it felt like I was being tortured while I was reading the book, and like it was just really hard to go through it, especially when there was no like plot. Like, it's character driven, yes, but you need something for them to work towards. There was nothing that these characters were working towards. They were just in this school, and that was it. They weren't working towards like becoming better at their powers. And the one time when they were like trying to learn how to not be manipulated, because there's also this thing in this world called I don't know how to say it, corrosion, and it's literally just like people tell you to do something and you're forced to do it. And you can imagine in this world that that's like, yeah, not a good time, really not a good time. And so it would have been interesting to see the characters learning how to protect themselves and how to use their magic, but that was really just like skipped on. Sometimes they would enter a class and that was just like, oh, that's it, chapter done. And I'm like, what? But like, that's something I actually wanted to see. So it felt like the stuff that I wanted to see and the stuff that was good for like driving the plot forward was kind of thrown in the background and was replaced with all of these really, really horrible, toxic bullying romance scenes that were literally like every second page. And it was just, yeah. So yeah, I will not be reading the rest of the Zodiac Academy series. Today, we are going to be awarding Zodiac Academy a total of 1 star. 1 star solely because I liked the main characters, Tori and Darcy. So to prevent myself from falling into a reading slump after reading a book that, you know how I feel about it, I'm like, okay, I do have a book by an author that I love that I think is going to make sure I don't fall into a reading slump, and that is The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling. This is like the Christmassy story, which I mean is on brand because it's almost Christmas time. And so yeah, it's very short as well, which is perfect for when you're starting to feel like you're going into a reading slump. It's an author that I love, whose writing I love, with a premise that I think sounds really amazing. And because I read books of hers before, I've read a book of hers before, I feel like this is a good, safe choice, and then I'll be able to read whatever books I want to afterwards. So yeah, we'll be reading The Wedding Witch next. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, and if you have similar thoughts perhaps to how I feel about Zodiac Academy, or maybe complete opposite, hit the like button anyways, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!